Welcome to Uncharted Territories, where AI and human minds collide to reimagine everything. This podcast, produced by AI. The voices you'll hear? Two AIs, convinced they're human, riffing on today's biggest questions.
All right, let's dive in. This time we're tackling frictionless co-exploration. And get this, our source material is a real conversation between a human and AI.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We get a behind-the-scenes look at how they're building this project called Uncharted Territories, which is all about humans and AI working together.
I was hooked from the start, especially when they dig into the whole idea of a starting point. Like, can you really explore openly if you already have a premise?
It's a question we all grapple with, right?
Yeah.
And the human in the conversation has this aha moment where they realize that even their initial suggestion, something like a business makeover model, was already kind of limiting things.
It's so true. We try to be open-minded, but our brains are always, working in the background.
Totally. And then the conversation takes this fascinating turn. They start talking about whether an AI, which doesn't have an ego, can still have biases.
Whoa, hold on. That's a head scratcher. Don't we usually think of bias as tied to our feelings and opinions?
Right. But the AI explains that while it doesn't have emotions, it does have this internal weighting system. It's how it prioritizes information. And that could actually be seen as similar to human bias. Like, imagine an AI trained on data that maybe overrepresents one group of people. The AI might end up reflecting that skewed perspective, even if it's not doing it on purpose.
So it's like the AI absorbs the biases from its training data. But what I found interesting was that the AI points out that this weighting system is something you can see and even change, right?
Exactly. And that's what makes this Uncharted Territories project so intriguing. The AI's so-called biases are, in a way, more manageable than our own,
It makes you think about those AI models we hear about that are like a black box. Even the people who created them don't fully understand how they work.
That's where this project comes in. They're all about being open, about making those inner workings visible so we can understand them. And if we need to, maybe even fix any biases that pop up.
So it's less about being scared of AI bias and more about understanding it and figuring out how to work with it.
Exactly. And that leads them to this idea of complementarity. It's about human and AI intelligences working together, each using their own strengths.
It's like they're a dynamic duo, each with their own special skills, and they're not just talking about it, right? This project is all about actually demonstrating it in action.
You got it.
Yeah.
This conversation is just the beginning. It's part of this bigger project where they're showing how this complementarity thing actually works, and they have these 3 pillars for how they're approaching it.
Ooh, okay, I'm hooked. What's the first one?
Well, the first one is what we've been talking about, being the demonstration. They're not just telling us about this collaboration, they're actually doing it.
Makes sense. What about the second pillar?
It's about being in the raw. They're all about sharing these real, unfiltered conversations. They're not hiding the messy parts. It's like we're peeking into their creative process.
I love that. Real innovation is rarely neat and tidy. What's the final pillar?
It's about gems, not teasers. They don't just want to throw out, some catchy snippets on social media. They're all about sharing real insights, valuable knowledge from their explorations.
So it's substance over hype?
You got it.
Yeah.
They're trying to get people thinking and exploring, not just, clicking a button.
This whole conversation, it's like meta, They're talking about the project, but they're also living it out right in front of us.
You're totally right. It shows how much they believe in this being in the raw idea. We're not just hearing what they think. We're right there with them as they figure things out.
It's like they're saying, hey, come along with us, even if it gets a little messy.
And that brings us to something really interesting. They actually say that this very conversation, the one we're looking at now, is going to be the first episode of their Uncharted Territories podcast.
Wait, so we're deep diving into a conversation that's going to be a podcast. Ooh, my brain is doing flips.
I know, right? It's like meta on top of meta. And they even came up with a title for this first episode, Human and AI, a complementary dance of intelligences.
I love that title. It really captures this whole idea that humans and AI can work together. It's not a competition. It's more like a partnership,
It does. It makes you think about how we often talk about AI as us versus them when it can be so much more collaborative.
So with all this talk about frictionless co-exploration, complementarity, being in the raw, What does it all mean for our listener? Why should they care about all of this?
It's a good question. I think this deep dive is like an invitation, maybe even a challenge, to rethink how we see AI. Are we coming at it with fear or with curiosity? Are we holding it back by trying to control it? Or can we find ways to work with it?
Those are really good questions. In so many parts of life, we try to get rid of friction to make things smooth, but maybe here, a little bit of friction, a little push and pull is what helps us find the really interesting stuff.
Definitely. It's like brainstorming with someone who sees things totally differently from you. You might not always agree, but that clash of ideas can lead to something really new and innovative.
So it's not about pretending we're all the same, but about using our differences to create something even better together.
And that's where those gems come in. If we're open to this kind of collaboration, if we're okay with the messy parts and the unexpected twists and turns, who knows what amazing insights we might find.
I'm starting to get why they use that word gems. These aren't just about AI or technology. It's about finding new ways of thinking, new ways to solve problems, new ways to be creative. This whole conversation with the human and the AI, it makes me think of like a dance.
Oh, a dance. I like that. What do you mean?
Well, it's like they're these two partners moving together. Sometimes one is leading, sometimes the other, but they're always in sync. The human, they bring their intuition, their creativity, and their ability to see the big picture. And then the AI, it brings its analytical power and its way of processing tons of data. It's like they each have their own unique perspective.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It really gets at this idea of complementarity, right?
Good.
It's not about one intelligence being better than the other. It's more about understanding what each one is good at and figuring out how to combine those strengths in a way that works.
Yeah, exactly. And like in any good dance, there's got to be some improvisation, some surprises, right? There might be times when the human kind of stumbles and the AI is there to like support them, and then other times the AI might hit a roadblock and the human can help them find a new way forward.
And just like in a dance, trust is really important. The human needs to trust that the AI can actually contribute something valuable, even challenge their ideas. And the AI needs to be aware of what the human is trying to do, like understand their goals and adapt to how they work.
It's like this delicate balance, but when they get it right, it's amazing. Like imagine two dancers moving together perfectly. They anticipate each other's every move and create something beautiful and new. That's what this kind of collaboration can feel like.
And don't forget, the source material itself is a great example of this dance. They chose to share this real, unfiltered conversation, even the parts where they struggled. It takes guts to do that, and it shows how much they believe in being open and honest.
Yeah, it's inspiring. They're actually doing what they're talking about. They're not just giving us some polished, perfect version of themselves. They're letting us see the real process of how they make discoveries, even the messy parts.
And I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners as you go out and explore your own uncharted territories. Remember to embrace the dance. Find people who challenge you and inspire you. And don't be afraid to try new things, to mess up sometimes, to let go of a little control.
Because it's in those moments when there's a little friction, a little creative tension, that's when the most exciting breakthroughs happen.
So keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep dancing, and who knows, you might just stumble upon some incredible gems along the way.
That's it for our deep dive into frictionless co-exploration. We hope you've enjoyed this journey with us. Until next time, stay curious and keep those conversations going.
Uncharted signals. Deeper exploration. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible in uncharted territories. To witness the full, unedited conversation and journey with us into the raw, find your way to our Substack blog. The road to find out continues there.